good. I'll say we're good when we're good.
Please do. I would like to know.
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
How about now? You good now? No, wait, I'm not good again. Okay, I'm good. I'm good now. Oh wait, it says you went live. It's too late for me to be good.
It's
Yeah,
too late.
it's too late for you.
It's too late for me to be good on most nights, but you know,
That's depressing.
don't worry about it.
Feels good to be bad, all right?
All right.
I'm sure there's a lyric from some song somewhere along the way.
Probably.
It is lyrics to probably several songs, honestly.
Okay,
But,
that's probably true.
So to those of you watching this video ahead of the live stream, skip ahead roughly about 15 minutes to skip all the meander for the evening to get down to the review of the Bestech Supernova. Yeah, spoilers.
The old meandering.
Oh, they knew. They knew. Don't worry. Oh, I suppose.
We've been doing this a minute. They should know by now.
1 minute.
Exactly. Precisely.
Yeah. It's there's nobody here yet. I feel bad about it.
It's a quiet room. It's a quiet room.
Yeah.
I mean, in Paul's case, a quiet field. There's not even birds chirping. I think there's a tornado coming. I think that's what happens when it's that quiet.
That might explain some of these clouds back here.
It's kind of grim. It really is.
You know, Alberta's been a little tornado-y recently.
Yeah. I don't know if Paul's going to make it all the way through the stream or not. He might just get, sucked up like a dairy cow. I said
I don't know how to react to that.
You did. You did say those things.
Oh, it's terrible.
I'm gonna need this coffee to kick in any second now. That would be highly appreciated.
Anyone got any surprises this week?
No surprises. No fun times. No. How do you do to my new toy? I have how do you do to too much recently?
You have how do you dude? Yeah. You might almost say how do you do, dude? But
he could say that, but should he?
No, it's a terrible thing to say. I'm regretting saying it already. So
fantastic. Well, it's not a new how do you do, but I could show you what I've been carrying because it's something I haven't been carrying until recently. Again, it's probably a more eloquent way to say that.
I liked it.
Double detent flipper known as the Appalachian Drifter, discontinued and in stainless Damascus. It's a lot of fun.
Have you figured out the sweet spot? Is there a sweet spot?
There is. It's just not using a ton of pressure every single time, basically.
He's doing it. I don't know why he's doing it off camera for us, though.
Oh. Sorry, I was looking at other stuff. See, there, it didn't quite go all the way.
Yeah, there you
go. I was going to say, you don't want to see it fail, do you? Come on.
Yeah, no. See, most of the time it lands fine. Yeah, most of the time it's pretty good. I will say, though, you do have to play with it to figure out exactly how much pressure to use. If you're really worried about it, you just press and then roll with your thumb, and it's not a big deal. It's a very fidgety knife, though. Like, ridiculous. I love this thing.
I think I've mentioned in the past, but messed up looking zebra you've got that straight lion on. Yeah, I don't know, man.
It's a little strange.
I'm into it.
Terrible camouflage for the Serengeti, that's for sure. No wonder it's a rug now. Did not make it.
It's not doing any favors. This weird blend of carbon fiber and G10, though, I gotta say I quite like. It's pretty wild.
It is pretty funky.
And although I don't have a picture of it, the spine, what would you call that? Backspacer, yeah, you're not going to be able to see that very well. It's also made of the same material. It's nifty. It's nifty.
That's fancy. That's fancy.
I keep debating whether I should try to track down the Appalachian Drifter 2 in Damascus and then complete the trifecta. Because I've got...
They discontinued that one too.
They did. I was going to say, because I have the Damascus Rustic Gent. This one had their reflective finish, which was kind of interesting. I don't know. I think there's a reason those knives got discontinued, but that's okay.
They were pretty niche.
Yeah. I think part of the problem is they went with a really thin blade stock, and they did probably the most aggressive hollow grind I've seen on a production knife for its time. They probably had people chipping the edge on these things. But
those people are wrong, because that knife works fantastic if you use it properly.
It's a beautiful blade. And again, some of the best hollow grinds I've seen, honestly, like outside of CRK and Spyderco. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like how you didn't put a buck 110 in that mix. That no. I can appreciate that.
It's a hollow grind, all right.
It's a hollow grind off.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
I said off. Sorry.
I don't like that you keep clarifying. Yeah.
All right. Good times. I can go next.
Yeah, sure. Maybe you should.
If you want. I was just kicking around the house this weekend. Nothing fancy going on. Canada Day burgers on the back deck in between tornadoes. Like literally. it's rushing in and out in between. Lightning strikes and thunder and lightning. Yeah, good times. But as I snapped a picture today of what I was carrying this week. And again, speaking of things that you haven't carried for a while, 0609 Zeethy.
Hey. Very nice. Good option.
So MXG clip on the back is also a right option, but
true facts.
And the messed up hole. It's all about the messed up hole.
So. Yeah, sure is. It's kind of all about that hollow ground swedge on the back of the blade, though. That's kind of nifty looking.
It's all right. It's
a pretty knife.
RJ Martin did an okay job on this one. And speaking of things that are thin behind the edge, we might be chatting about tonight. Unlike most CTs, actually pretty decent. Yeah. So.
Hey. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Hey, yes, you do. I didn't have a 301 back there handy, or I'd be snapping that thing out. But yeah,
that thing's a monster, though.
I don't need to cut myself again on live stream, so
let's not.
Come on, entertain us.
No,
Justin in chat, what is up, sir? Apparently, Battle Bit Remastered is addictive, so
probably Battle Bot. If it's Battle Bit, that's cool too. Whatever, it's no judgment. Some cooler if it's Battle Bot, but anyway.
Like Rock'em Sock'em robots.
Sure,
one of those two. Yeah.
So I guess it was kind of a theme this week or weekend of people carrying thin, slicey things. I'm carrying my Spectre, my haptic.
Your Spectic? It's
my Spectic.
As long as it's not your septic.
That's where I was going next, Joe. You beat me to it, damn it.
Excellent.
I mean, I was trying to work something out in my head. You just plunged in. You just dove for it. There was nothing witty or falsely witty about what you did.
I will say the hollow grind on that thing is also very aggressive. Hollow grinds need to be utilized more frequently, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as we move into more tough steels becoming available. MagnaCut. Yeah.
Potentially.
I am a convert.
Yeah.
A convert?
Yeah, I used to hate on them. If you go back and watch early streams, I would hate on the hollows. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Didn't like them.
It's okay. We all change. There is actual evidence of me talking shit about the Wayne Goddard Spyderco on Blade forums some years ago, and I'm like, doesn't do anything for me. Now it's like I'm lusting after a Siren, which is basically a copy pasted Wayne Goddard. The lines are extremely similar.
Lance,
like,
Clint,
oh boy,
Lance
I
Clinton
really like
has
knife.
no idea what you're talking about, Joe. Come on.
Well, I mean, could be convergent evolution. You know, they both decided on these shapes because they work. Just recently, there was some shop exclusive of the Goddard. I think it was M4 and Red FRN with the black DLC.
Yeah, I think
looks cool.
St. Nick's with their 4V runs.
Or 4V, that's what it was. Yeah, not M4. That's cool shit though. It's like I remember not liking that knife, and I don't know what happened between not liking it and liking it, but I think I like it.
Here we are.
Yeah. Something happened.
You grew as a person.
Oh God, I want to go back.
Speaking on hologrinds, though, getting a photo of that hologrind is hard.
Yeah, hologrinds can be tricky for sure. Photographically, definitely. So
they tend to catch things at odd angles for sure.
It's this, or you have like just a complete wash.
Yeah, it's all white all the time, baby. Yeah. So, yeah, but either way.
Turned out cool. Yeah.
Indeed. I'm milking camping photos for all they're worth, and you can't stop me.
Well, I could just not show your photos and be a dick about
it. I think actually you're talking to the one person that can literally stop you.
Doesn't mean I'm gonna. Doesn't mean I want to. But
it's not good for our cause.
Now you challenged me, and I must.
Yeah, don't threaten that shit.
It's like, well, now I don't have a choice. Thanks, Paul. God damn it.
You'll find the wrath of the nunchucks, yo. It's
Oh Jesus! All right. Well. Oh. Once again, I'm flying blind in chat, so I'm relying on you guys. What the hell's going on with YouTube lately? Second week in a row, it's been kind of weird.
Indeed. You get no chat?
No chat. No chat for me.
I'll be honest, there's not a lot going on there right now.
Well, it's Canada Day weekend. People may or may not be out and about.
That's
out on a boat. Yeah, I said on. That's right.
Oot and a boot. It's just a black bar for me right now. I was going to say, speaking of hologrinds, but the knife we're talking about, while thin behind the edge, isn't really a hologram knife at all.
Aren't we going to throw up one other thing, or is that topic-y for after?
Oh, we can talk about that after.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, sorry. I kind of assumed that was after. Sorry.
No, I misheard before stream, so.
Okay.
You know.
Well, that's all good. Let's talk about something fancy.
We could talk about something fancy.
Yeah. Well, bam.
Might be insane to talk about.
Supernova. Bestech.
The Bestech. Supernova.
It is the best of the techs.
I was going to say, it's best in tech.
As long as that tech is just knife making and nothing else.
Hey,
there's a lot of companies with the name Breast. There you go. Bestech. Yeah.
Well, and in this case, it can be a person. Doesn't necessarily have to be a Bestech man, so to speak. So
I still think that branding is stupid.
It's terrible. It's effing terrible.
I'm not saying it makes me sad.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I mean, it would have been funnier if Wee Knives decided to come out with a sub-brand and called it Wee Man. Come on. No one's following this.
I'm up to speed.
Yeah.
I'm up to speed.
I had to spell it out. It was right there for the taking. No, they went with Civivi. Something. I don't know. What is Civivi?
I forget. Anyway, there's
if
we go to the about page later, we'll see it. I'm actually going to throw up size comparison now because this knife is a little deceiving in photos. I think everybody thought it was, pardon me, going to be a little bit bigger.
And I didn't get pictures of one of the things that probably should have got pictures on was the Crooked River and the mini Crooked River, which is a little bit of a size comparison. But even like this is slightly smaller than a mini Crooked River. Yeah, to put some size comparisons that we are familiar with, 452, Nays and Murdery in all its glory. I was going to do a 450, but again, you're talking about trying to get angles. The black CF one was hard to come out with the black background, and the Chi one was giving me all wash all the time. So I went with 470 instead. And then the ever irrelevant size comparison with the Dragonfly, because I love you, sweetie. Anyway.
Excellent. The smaller Sinkovich is about the same size as the other smaller Sinkovich, so it's okay.
They're close.
I think guys can get a decent enough reference from that.
It's just a little guy.
But I think what I did miss out on was, the Crooked River, mini Crooked River, because I think there is some comparisons there as well that are worth noting.
Yeah, in particular that Clip Point blade. But before we get too far into this, we want to do the 1 minute spec rundown?
We can do some 1 minute spec rundowns. I think I'm ready for that.
I'm sure I could do that. Terrible.
All right.
Whenever we're ready.
Yeah, right.
Here, let me just fix this weird eye thing that I have. That's good taps. Oh. Good taps. All right. That twitch that I have from life,
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Cool story, bro. All right. Hello, whenever we're ready.
Yep, go for it.
All right. We are looking at the Bestech Supernova with a blade length of 3.07 inches of M390 with a 5961 HRC, 7.08 inches overall. It's got this really cool orange peel titanium body with titanium backspacer and zirconium bolster and pocket clip. Blade stock is 3 mils thick with a really awesome liner lock, ceramic ball bearings, and comes in at a weight of 3.4 ounces. Bam.
On that note, that thin, slicey blade is probably my favorite thing about this knife.
Yeah. For me, it might actually be the flipper. For how small the flipper is in the close position, it's quite snappy.
And last but not least, for me, the premium options that this thing can come in, like titanium, zirconium, Timascus options, as well as Damasteel blades. The sky's the limit as far as fancy. Yeah, those are things.
Perfect.
It's like we're getting more streamlined with this whole garbage.
We're figuring out what we're doing.
You shut your face.
We'll
screw it up next week. Mark my words.
Let's not put the standards too high here, guys.
Please don't.
Yeah.
Cool story, bro. Cool story. So let's get into the nitty gritty. Pros, cons, loves, hates, ups, downs, lefts, rights. No lefts. Screw you. Only rights.
Yeah, so okay. We may as well highlight that before we get
it's always a thing with Bestech.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. So, okay, the inclusion for lefties would have been super cool.
Yeah, but it's not a first.
No,
they don't shock me with that shit.
What would have been nice would have been seeing a little bit, like, could you imagine just an inlay? I don't have any examples that actually have this, but an inlay for where the pocket clip would normally sit, but it's Zerk. It's just a little bit of black to break it up right at the butt end of that knife. Just a little bit. Like, yeah, sure, it would be something extra, but I don't know. I'd pay an extra $10 or $15 for that. Like, why not?
Do we want to, speaking of size comparison, do we want to throw an in-hand comparison up? Because I did get one in hand to give you an idea. I would say, in my opinion, just barely under 4-finger grip. It strives to be a 4-finger grip, but it doesn't. It doesn't make it.
Yeah, it's.
This might be one.
It's real close.
So you'll notice as well that kind of almost looks like I can get my pinky on, but there is an overlap with my index finger as well as my second finger. I didn't stretch my hand out. It's all cramped up weird. So if I did actually...
You got a weird kind of illusion-y thing going on here.
It's one of these. It's one of these. It's fun.
It's funky. It's funky.
Yeah. It's stop motion with I only have 3 fingers, by the way.
Yeah, okay.
That makes
I
so
did
much
a
sense.
time-lapse video of me reaching around with my weird Homer Simpson hand.
That's horrifying. Thank you for that visual.
Oh, homie.
Not gonna give that a response.
That's okay.
Oh, you said homie. Sorry. Yeah.
We're a family show here.
Yeah.
Just like The Simpsons.
This one might be a knife to throw a small lanyard on. If you're lanyard inclined.
Oh, you're gonna get to 2 of my cons right off the bat. I see where this is going. Joe with his comments about Zerk, like little inserts, and me and you going with lanyards. I'm like, first of all, the backspacer should be Zerk, not titanium, in the first place, if you're gonna do it, because the backspacer is titanium, which is kind of nice on the gray sleeked out one, but on every other variation, it doesn't really work that great.
Yeah, it's. I have a couple of photos. You might actually have some better photos to show.
And then that backspacer, which also has the lanyard, which, come on, get the hell out of town. Put a lanyard on a $500 little gentlemanly carry, like.
What's that?
Yeah. Put a big old bead on there.
Yeah, put a schmuckatelli bead with a Viking skeleton on it, like, while you're at it. It's, yeah, that matches the motif 100%.
It better weigh more than the knife, or I'm not interested.
What's that? Sorry.
I said it better weigh more than the knife, or I'm not interested.
Well, 3.4 ounces. I mean, that's a big bead.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but that's a big bead.
If you're gonna do this, you got to color match at the very least.
Well, anodize, flame anno, something. Yeah. And like I said, on the normal ones, it's gray titanium, so it kind of matches the gray titanium handle and stuff, right? But is there 2 options, 3 options? I can't even remember.
There were a handful. I'm just going to go to their website quick. There are 5 options total. 2 of them seem to be the exact same goddamn thing. There's an open question as to whether that has to do with the blade grind or not, or the color of the handle.
What's the backspacer on the fancy ones?
The fancy boys?
870 USD.
No, but what's the backspacer on them?
Straight.
Oh, titanium as well. Yeah, okay. But it's kind of a silver tie on the one fancy.
Okay, that kind of matches in. I like that.
Yeah, it's not the worst look.
I think it's just the goldies that it just kind of doesn't work with.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're on the button.
But if they had went Zerk across the board on all of the backspacers, then it would have just solved that problem, and everyone would have been goddamn happy. And you probably could have gone from like the 350 to like the 370, and everyone would have been okay with that. It's maybe everyone would have been okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the fact that you're seeing Zerk in a production knife. That's pretty cool.
So what's the big?
But I agree with you.
What's the deal with Zerk? But like literally.
So my other question.
You probably know more than me.
No.
Yeah.
Zirconium. I know it's expensive and difficult to work with. I've seen it with everything from a mirror finish to this kind of orange peel sort of finish.
I think expensive and difficult to work with is probably part of the appeal, as silly as that sounds, but like mother of pearl inlays and the effort that goes into it.
I know that it is one of the I'm fairly certain it is one of the compounds out there that more readily takes a black finish, which is difficult to do with most metals. Metal generally doesn't want to turn black unless it's an oxide layer that isn't very stable. Zirconium is fairly stable once it's been properly finished and treated, though. It also weighs a shit ton. For the record,
I was going to say that too. Yeah,
it's dense as shit.
Maybe that's why the titanium backspacer potentially.
I would like to bet. Not that the knife would have been that much heavier, I would say, with just the backspacer being zirconium. Yeah, it's weird. Sorry, I think I cut you off earlier, Dennis.
No, I'm lost.
Well, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, yes. The one thing I was going to say is repeatedly over and over again in their catalog, they talk about zirconium and titanium bolsters. You think these are plated?
No, I think they're talking about the fact that it's stepped.
Okay, they do say handle material, and they say titanium plus zirconium bolster. I think I misread that to begin with.
Okay. So I was going to say, like, I don't think you can... I don't know if you can or can't, but I don't think I've ever heard of Zerk-plated anything.
Plated, it's just all or nothing type of thing.
Maybe there's a way to do it, but yeah, I've never heard of it being done.
Now, I do believe that you were talking about different finishes, and I'm not sure exactly how they get that finish because they do talk about it being highly resistant to acid etching and corrosion. So they do something to it.
It'd probably be a mechanical finish of some sort.
The next time I need to mix up some hydrochloric acid, I know just the knife for the job.
Oh, yeah.
It's true. It's true. Dick Richards, what's up? What's up? What are y'all carrying? Infinite? I don't know if you actually said or not because you're lazy and just talking about battle bits.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know. I think he may have been like, hey, just so you're aware, I am overplaying battle bits.
Oh, I see. And then just got the hell out of Dodge. I see.
Could be.
Well, come back and tell us what you're carrying, you asshole. I'm just going to assume it's a mini grip in 20 CV because it's probably, you know,
hey, it might be an S9. No, sorry, M390 bug out. He might have gotten salty about your comment last week.
Yeah, there's a pair of three lightweight or full duty or Orange Dragonfly. You know, no, it won't be yours. That's not in the rotation at this point. Anyway, continue on. We're rambling.
It's a desk toy. It's a desk toy at this point. Just a. Now we can come back to that later. What is the weight on this thing again? It's I saw 94 grams on the website. It's
3.4 ounce.
3.4. So some people, I'm not saying they're right or wrong, definitely subscribe to the ounce and inch. 1 ounce of knife per exposed edge of blade, and that can be an okay ballpark. I think for gauging. Yeah. But at the end of the day, this is an under 4 ounce object, and it's fairly compact, yes, but it doesn't feel cheap. I'll say that much. But I wouldn't call this so heavy that I wouldn't want to carry a knife that size. You know, like it's not that unreasonable.
It's under a quarter pound. It's fine.
No,
it's not a PMP Alpha Beast. Yeah.
Talk about weight on this thing, and I actually sent you a couple pictures of the skeletonizing on the inside. The non-lock bar face is probably the one I'd like to start with first, if you can figure out which.
If I can figure out which one.
While you're doing that, just mention Dick Richards is carrying his 8010 light.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Oz 10, you say. It's the less bright one, I believe, because the one that got some extra shine is probably the lock bar that I was shining off of. So
is this the correct one? The underside of the show side?
Yeah. That's the one. Yeah.
So
good stuff. Good stuff.
Good times. Got some good skeletonizing going on to minimize that zirconium weight. That good zirconium weight.
So I'm just trying to keep stuff from falling.
There is definitely people that subscribe to the notion that something that feels heavy is expensive,
or it's particularly good quality, right? Like
yes, yeah. More than one company has been caught putting weights in their items to make them feel weighty, and we are kind of the opposite. I kind of dig that. Like, I mean, us as a knife community.
Doing everything we can to try to minimize that, right? Like it's
as much as we can, yeah.
That's kind of a new trend.
It is. Buck 110 boys, Kershaw field knife boys, things like that, right? They and even so much as like the 804, I mean, significantly lighter, but the 801s that even in that ZT family of the hand grenade family, as it were, right?
Light things are so good though.
And even before people say it, the bug out was not the first.
No,
it was not the first ultralight knife. It is impressive that what they managed to do with the materials, but Come on.
I thought you were going to say advertising. Oh,
The marketing is pretty heavy, man. Like it's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
yeah.
So yes, the other pitcher might be a little harder to come in, but it actually has one of the points. Joe and I were talking about something, and I had some time to think about it, and we were talking about the difference between a subframe lock and a liner lock that happens to be screwed into the side and isn't really a full liner, as it were, right?
Yes. I can grab the other picture for this. Yes.
I think the difference is that one of them comes all the way through to the outside.
Correct, sir. Yes.
That's probably the defining feature. Because otherwise they're identical.
Yes, but then I started to think about it as well. And having thought about it, this is almost the best of all worlds, right? You're not getting quite in liner lock. You're almost getting a frame lock type of thing. You can get the thickness of a frame lock because of the cutout and like whatever that you're doing, instead of having to worry about a full liner and how thick the full liner is, plus the cutout that's coming over in the whole 9 yards, right? So you can opt to make it a little bit thicker, a little beefier, and still just screw it into the side of that, right? But then you don't get lock stick when you're trying to flip it.
Yep.
So you're basically getting a titanium lockup, whatever they want to put, a carbonized steel insert, whatever they want to do type of thing, titanium lock bar, all the joys of a frame lock, but none of the pinning and the sticking. So for me, that was actually one of the biggest high points on this. After our conversation, I started to think about it and flip it and look at that more and more. And all of a sudden I was like, I hate the Vox Dapper titanium because it has a full steel liner on the inside of this beautifully rounded titanium, and then like, here, I'm gonna cheap the shit out of it by putting the steel liner on it. Like it's,
and I mean that's a fairly common thing, even insofar as liner locks, is it not? Like, doesn't the military do basically the same thing?
Let me look. I'm pretty sure the military is full liner.
But it's internal
yes.
type of.
So caveat, it's internal, and it's only down to the second screw, and it's countersunk.
Yeah, so it's not full bodied, but it is a steel liner, and then it is still a cutout.
So the reason they do that, I imagine here, is so that they can have flat contact with the washer. So the order of materials would be G10 steel washer blade, and then the reverse out. Yeah, the military kind of does it, but it's not quite a bolt-in solution in the same way that this knife is. And it's not quite the same as like the Skaha that both Paul and I have. This also does a very similar thing where the liner is really only held in place by that screw. The others are just standoffs that interface with the carbon fiber.
In that particular situation, is that still a full liner with a lock bar that's been milled and cut out?
No, it's basically just the liner. Or is it
just the lock bar?
It's just a lock bar. It's just a lock bar liner. Yeah,
like the Supernova that we're talking about right now.
Yes, exactly. Yes, yeah. Yeah. So there are examples out there that do this, but usually you are right. Normally, for whatever reason, when it comes to full titanium builds, if there's gonna be a liner lock, that liner is usually the entire inside. And it's got to make it easier on the designers. It's got to make it easier for the milling and the machining and whatever else. But
so ultimately, smart.
Yeah,
that's yeah, for sure. Anyone else? Good points, bad points, all the points.
Nick?
Oh, go ahead. No,
I was just going to say, on the point of carry, I actually did manage to scrounge up last minute here a comparison picture with this guy. So for me, the grip area is actually just a little bit shorter than this. Whenever you have a flipper tab with a knife handle that's already that short, it really does constrict how it feels in your hand. So for me,
and if you look in this picture, your flipper tab's actually past the point of the choil, so it's making your choil smaller in this. Yeah.
And even on some of my favorite knives of all time, they do a very similar kind of thing where it just pinches your hand in. And if the handle is large enough, it doesn't really matter. But if it's very small, um, it kind of puts
it's already
this knife
taking a small handle and making it smaller, right? Like
yeah, it puts this knife almost squarely in the realm of like this is light to maybe medium use, just because I'm not entirely confident in the grip I'd be able to get in this knife. That being said, for the cost of this knife, for the materials that go into it, and how refined everything is, I don't know that this is going to be anybody's beater. Like this is maybe in the sense that like this is what I take to the office every day because it's small and it looks pretty.
This is like in the category of like gentleman's carry, I would argue.
Yeah, pretty much. Even more so than this VV, I would say. I was talking about this with a regular today, but it's like, man, this thing, for how dark it is, it looks kind of tactical. The Bestech here, though, it's actually the only dark part on there. It really is the bolster of the clip, and it's subdued. The rest of the tones on this knife, it looks like a knife, but it doesn't go out of its way to look at all scary.
Yeah.
Part of that, I will say, is the 3-inch blade. Like it's maybe somewhat limited in that way, but it's from some people's perspectives. But I think it fits really nicely in that. Yeah.
We were looking at the skeletonizing, and I don't know if you can actually see it in the lock bar picture, but the other cool thing about the this particular knife is the super clean look to it. The only one screw construction on the handle, one pivot screw on the bolster. Now, part of that is that you can see in where the pocket clip is, there's an internal screw that's holding that in.
Yeah.
But if you actually go up, I don't know if you can see it behind the lock bar or even on the other picture that I showed you, but there's also an internal screw that's holding the bolsters in as well.
I don't know if that's quite visible here.
Not in this picture. Maybe the other picture you can see it on the other side.
Not quite, unfortunately. But that is a good thing to note, yeah. So there is a secondary screw, aside from the pivot screw that holds it.
Also, and they milled out, and all the skeletonizing gave them space to be able to put a screw in there and not clash with any sort of blade workings, blah, blah, blah type of thing, and screw the bolsters on snug and tight that way, right?
Very cool.
Yeah. Smart as well. Again, some things that they did that were smart.
Very absolutely.
Smart. Oh, you can kind of see the glimmer of a screw here in this photo I took, but
the faintest glimmer of a screw.
Hark!
On Christmas morning. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The jingle of a single loose body screw.
God, it cometh. And
this Christmas story turned into a nightmare.
It always.
You gotta take this shit apart if you got a loose bolster screw.
2 things before we move too far away from machine work and the pocket clip, especially. No hardware on the outside of this thing. It looks super slick. It's an odd detail, but look at how clean that body screw is. Like, it's pretty crisp. The chamfers are well considered. It's sitting nicely in the frame. It's not gonna it doesn't catch on your finger in any weird way.
Oh, so we didn't take this picture off of Emerson's homepage? Is that what you're saying?
I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about, sir.
We did. That's all true facts. The statement I said was 100% a true fact.
You're not wrong.
Not get this picture.
Oh, we certainly didn't. Yeah, no, they clearly give a shit that the hardware is all nicely finished from factory.
They also do give a shit. Yeah, that's also a true fact. That's
yeah, it's pretty clean.
Now, go ahead, Paul.
I was going to say we've said some really nice things about this knife, and I have one very minor gripe.
Oh, I got a
We've been circling around it in the last couple photos, like it's the pocket clip.
Yes.
I think me and Joe talked about this actually, but it comes out of the pocket easier than it goes into the pocket.
Correct, sir.
Yeah. This isn't exactly the best photo I could have taken, but hey, I don't have any excuses.
The pictures that you were showing, the screw from the inside, you can see it really well.
Oh, really? Shit. That was unconventional, but that's great. I'll go back to that. Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's pretty harshly highlighted now. So, what Paul's talking about is it's kind of a steeper ramp to go into the pocket than it is out. You can see it on a lot of Actually, this one's not too bad, but this kind of exhibits similar features.
The chikonk, as it were, and this one's actually pretty good. This one's the opposite. It's harder to go out.
That's the way it should be, in my humble opinion. Yeah, there you go.
Opposite or equal. I'm cool with both.
Yes. Theoretically, I would rather have a slightly harder time getting this knife out of my pocket because then it's not going to fall out accidentally.
Yes.
I even if I have to come in with my finger and just gently lift that clip as I pull it into the pocket, just a touch, I would much rather do that. Now, how fragile is Zerk as a pocket clip? I don't know. I don't think something tells me it wouldn't be anything I'm super worried about.
Not too bad, but if you actually go to the picture that I sent you with the bolster and the clip kind of highlighted. Now, one of those things was to highlight the orange peel texture because it has a really, really sweet orange peel texture to this thing. And actually, this picture actually shows it off pretty good too. But if you kind of take a highlight on the clip, and that's one of the reasons I was kind of curious about the plating and the etching and the so on and so forth, there is some minor little dingies and lack of etchings along the clip that are starting to show. Along that one edge, you can kind of see half a dozen just micro little.
So not entirely sure what they've done to get that surface finish, but it may not be the most durable.
And I've heard that when I was doing some homework on ye old wedding band, Zirconium, I heard actually they were offering resurfacing finishes from some companies and stuff because they were talking about scratches and scuffs and nicks over time type of thing.
I've heard that it is, I'm pretty sure it's fairly soft, but also brittle.
Zirconium.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No aluminum. Watching it. Sorry.
Don't worry. Years ago, I watched a video where a person was talking about a full zirconium frame lock. And it was a big, we'll see if it works.
Oh, for the lock bar.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Yeah, soft and brittle is not a combination of things so
interesting.
Crumbly is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, basically. At the time, from the video that I had watched, I'm pretty sure that it was working fairly well, and they were both surprised. Like the maker and the person that was carrying it were both surprised by the whole ordeal. Okay. But I don't know that it's known for its strength.
And that could be one of the reasons that they threw out some orange peel texture to this thing, is to maybe just kind of ruffle up the finish a little bit in the first place, so it's already kind of ruffled.
Yeah, kind of hide imperfections.
Interesting thing to know.
Which I'm gonna be honest, I'm okay with because it looks pretty damn good.
It does look nice, and honestly, if the bolsters wear the way that this pocket clip is starting to go, I don't know that I would complain all that much. I think that, honestly, that would kind of enhance the look of it over time. But I guess you have to be the kind of person who likes wear on their tools. Not everybody does. But I think in this case it would work.
I've said over and over again that the first scratch scares the shit out of me. The 200th looks cool. And my Wii Knife Thug is a good example of that. I'm sure anyone who's owned a Sebenza for a long amount of time can also probably attest to that. So
that's one of my favorite things about Joe's Sebenza. Actually, I think I was talking to him about that recently.
That it's
just absolute really decimated it is.
It looks glass blasted. Yeah.
Sure, if your glass is in shards. I was gonna say this thing's completely beat to shit.
It wears its wear with pride.
The blade surprisingly isn't too bad on this side, but I've also kind of half-ass polished it from time to time just to take some of the more hairy scratches down. But yeah, no, it's not wabi-sabi. What's that? There's a Japanese term for something analogous to this. Anyway.
Yeah, I think that is actually the right term.
Okay. Yeah, I like this knife overall. It's small. It's pretty diminutive, but they've got, and I brought up this picture just to kind of highlight this, but like even the chamfering in and around the flipper tab off towards the front of the blade, like just little touches like this that are very easy to skip. they could have easily broken that down with like a deburring tool and left it at that. But they actually went through the trouble of knowing that, hey, somebody's finger is going to be right there and they're going to be flipping this thing. We may as well make it just that little bit more comfortable for them, less pinching.
Well, and again, even stopping before you get to the jimping and stuff, like smart. Like there was a lot of things on this knife that actually, when you started to deep dive and you're wondering what the price point is, because 330, 350 US on their website retail is not that small of a price, right?
No.
But once you start to deep dive into exactly what they did with this thing, you're like, okay, like again, the milling rivals and narrows on the internal, maybe not the external, but it's rounded. So
I knew we were going to get there at some point.
It's still milled on the outside. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then Zerkis, and then not USA made. So, actually, one note before we give a final score and review, blah, blah, blah type of thing. Bestech, especially the premium Bestechs, over and over again, I've noticed a thing where Bestech will tell you if the knife is tight or not by how centered the blade is. And if all of a sudden you notice that your blade's just not centered anymore, I bet you it's not tight anymore either. Because the perfect amount of tightness on a Bestech is also the perfect amount of centering on a Bestech.
Yeah.
It travels left to right. You can over tighten and go too far in the other direction too. But they seem to have nailed this, like, okay, this is the sweet spot and we know it. Here it is. Put your knife here. You'll be happy with it, both with play and with action type of thing, right? So
I can't imagine that was engineered that way, but they've stumbled into it. And I'm happy for it.
On multiple models that I've played with, and this particular Supernova that was on the shelf, we actually noticed that ourselves and recorrected that, and it was like, oh, there it is. There's the sweet spot. Bang, there it goes. Right. So I've noticed it multiple times on Bestechs, and it's cool. It's just. Can't say that for Benchmade. I wish you could tell it was tight by being centered.
The only other knife that I know of, like directly in my collection, that's like that is this guy.
And I'll come across random models like it, but not consistently for a company where it's just like something they do on their engineering has just got that locked down, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Cool story, bro. You're drinking daisies or sunflowers or whatever.
Am I?
Your drink disappeared completely. Like
it's pretty great.
It's probably for the best.
Yeah, good times.
I've just been kind of cycling through different picks, but
review.
Final. Happy to say
scores.
Yeah. I guess we can go on to final scores here. I'm just double checking to make sure there's nothing else I was forgetting.
Just a quick shout out to CPM in chat. What is up?
Thanks for joining us.
What's you carrying?
Been a minute. So
indeed. What are you carrying? How many gloves are you wearing while you're carrying it?
We've got the custom designer production version that was custom designed by Bestech Knives. The so famous Bestech Knives custom designed this knife to put into a factory production. Anyway, it's just for CPM because he plays with fancy shit. So I had to.
I'm picking up to put it down.
All right, final scores. What you got for us? Okay, so I'm gonna go first. I'm just gonna take it. I'm taking the glory because I got one ready. You guys can work around it. I know I love my scores because they're way out in left field, and this is no exception. It's probably one of the few times I can get away with saying this and not be as offensive as it probably would normally be. But I'm going to rate this knife 1 triggered white dwarf.
Thanks, I hate it.
All right, yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what it is. Thanks. That's a
fucking by the skin of your teeth.
Empty calorie statement of the night. Thank you. That's
Hey, come on, man.
It is the super unknown, okay?
Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed that. Fuck's sake. Paul, do you have a witty rating to give this thing?
Not anything like that. I was going to say they shot for the stars and they achieved it.
Oh,
but
okay. All right.
falls
All right.
week after. But yeah, I would give this a 5 out of 7.
That's the best follow-up you could possibly give after my score. Just, you know.
See, but the thing is, Joe knows what I'm saying.
I do. Unfortunately, 5
out of 7 is a perfect score.
It is. I
really like this knife.
Once again, I hate it. I'll just say this knife is heavenly. There you go. That's my rating. If I could wrap up with any sort of any reason not to buy this knife, I don't know. You don't like paying money, like for what you're paying. It's a pretty banging knife. Like,
okay, so this is up there without having a custom designer, and I was a smart ass about it at the end just for CPM, but it actually did bring up a point of this doesn't have a this guy production level. Finally, you can get one at a reasonable price. It's just a lot of fancy shit, and they're like, hey, you want it? Cool. It's not USA made, so it's $200 less than it should be, or other offerings that aren't as nice. Anyway,
that's the thing. If you look at other options within a $50 difference in either direction, what is there? Not a lot. Knives. But with the same fit and finish and the same execution of materials, I mean, I'm not saying that.
Maybe not. Nope. You're right.
Well,
I was going to say,
and model to model, I think you're going to find that model to model, but you're going to have to.
Bestech has found their
honestly.
And honestly, I think you're going to have to dig in Bestech catalog to find it model to model too in a higher price point, because some of them don't have the punch that this thing kind of does, right? So yeah.
If you like smaller knives, if you've got average sized hands, even if you don't, if you just don't mind having a smaller knife handle, this thing's pretty great.
So I have a bad habit of carrying almost full size knives in my fifth pocket, and I would totally carry this in the fifth pocket.
You would.
It's smaller than my Etalon, or at least in the same ballpark. I can get all 4 fingers on my Etalon, so.
I see.
Yeah.
That's gonna.
But
what are you trying to do? Trigger a dwarf? Come on, man.
Sometimes, nope.
On that note, let's wrap up this section of the review if we want to.
Thank you.
Want to say goodbye.
All right.
And
all right. So, topics, you say? Okay. On that note, thank you for everyone who joined us for the Supernova review. Continue to stay with us for some more live stream chit chat as we review several other something nuggets. I don't know. Joe's got gross shit.
I got some nuggets.
So say it's Paul's week. It's Paul's week for gross shit.
It's my week for nuggies.
Yeah. That doesn't make it better.
No.
So, okay. Thanks for joining us, guys. Have a great night.
Bye.
All right.
And we can continue.
Now it's time for the nuggies.
So
I guess. I don't know.
I'm not
prepared for.
I'm going to clean up like the 30 tabs of pictures I got here. It's not 30, but there's a lot of them. By the way, before we clean those up, I'm going to show you guys the fanciest version of the Supernova, which is not quite twice the price, but damn near.
It's a good-looking knife.
It's a good-looking knife.
Like no, do the gray one.
Jesus.
Yeah, the gold one's okay too. But the gray with that blue and the only problem is no Damascus.
Yeah, I mean this one's kind of goldy. It's mostly gray, but yeah, fine. We'll take a look at that.
You'll notice that backspacer is the same color.
Yep,
they care on this one.
All the same.
Well, they're all gray. They're all just gray.
That one was more goldy. The goldy one still had a goldy backspacer in some of the photos.
Yeah, it's hard to tell what's real and what's not. I mean, just generally speaking, but also in these photos.
You okay, Joe?
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, the fact that they did the Mokutai clip or whatever is ultra hot too.
It's kind of fucking smexy, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Paul.
So we're gonna start
Gonna
with
start
the
in
thing
on
that you.
Paul's nuggies.
Yeah. The first one you were thinking I was gonna start the show with. We're gonna talk about it now.
All
I
right.
see.
That's okay, I guess.
I'll throw up
Yeah.
that picture. Bam.
I was told at the beginning of the show there wasn't a lot of things for the end of the show, so I made sure to hold on to the things that I got.
Appreciate it.
Sometimes you just gotta get a fistful of your nuggies.
Don't make a fist. You're gonna crush your poor nuggies.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if I've ever seen this before, but there's a risk to a wire clip that I was recently made aware of through a friend. And that is that the snaps that you see in this photo are the exact right size for your pocket clip to encompass and then get stuck around. And then you're stuck trying to pry wires apart to get your knife out of your pocket.
Now, this is if you
yeah.
happen to have a snap pocket and if you happen to put your knife in the middle of said snap pocket.
I've got a different pair of shorts on than obviously the ones in this photo. I have the same snaps. They're front and back on the side pocket. So if I don't go in the middle on mine, I'm in the danger zone.
I see.
actually have snaps on my pockets right now. And if I'm not careful, do I have any wire clips on hand? Can I get it stuck on stream? Oh no, I can't. It's my bullshit way too wide valley clip. I don't know if I have any other. Oh wait, no, I got my snap off. Let's see.
Like I'm wearing a pair of like camo like board shorts basically right now, and
oh yeah, that could get
strap onto that.
Yeah, that could totally get stuck. Holy crap!
What I'm hearing is that you should just give me your Rips Garage Tag clip, and then I don't have to worry about that anymore. It's
no, see, I gotta hold on to it so I can make sure that my knife doesn't get stuck in my pocket wrong.
Oh, you're caring about you again. Damn it.
It's all about you, isn't it? Your knife and your pocket clip. Wah, wah, wah.
Your clip.
Well, thanks
your pants, I tell you.
Thanks for the heads up, Paul. We'll all be very cautious.
What about my pants, Paul? What about them?
What about them?
Yeah, I don't think Paul cares about your pants, Dennis. I just don't think he does at all.
I think he cares a few things about my pants. Mainly they stay on, but yeah.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah. There's some concerns about pants.
Yeah. Fairly legitimate. Unfortunate, though, maybe. Oh, boy.
But yeah, this is just a PSA. I almost called it a PDA, which is not the same thing.
No.
Yeah, PSA to be careful where you clip your clip. You might get stuck.
Poignantly.
Yep.
There's no one doing it. It's over.
And you would have to the easiest way to get this off probably would be to unscrew it.
No, you just
once it was unscrewed, the ends would come apart pretty easily.
Take your second knife, stick it up against your leg in between the wires, and then use your blade to pop them apart. It's foolproof.
Just make sure you use your thinnest, most stabby of knives.
Oh yeah, just grab if you don't have one, you need to get a Kershaw leak specifically for prying wire clips apart that have gotten stuck to your pants.
The tip only.
100%. Yeah, don't mess around, especially anyway.
I was just gonna leave one screw off of the pocket clip, so I could just spin the pocket clip around and use it as a pry bar when you need to.
There you go.
It's got the right scoop on the leather or the Kershaw leak clip. Yeah. It's constantly just a swiveling pry bar.
Now you're thinking.
You're awful. A swiveling pry bar. So there.
Don't like that.
I've got the full 360-degree swivel. That's good.
Yeah, you're welcome, Joe.
No, I'm just gonna ignore that. So you sent me a second nuggie.
I did send you a second nuggie, and like I was saying, I think you should start with the short and we're going to meet truffles.
Oh, truffles, you say?
We are going to meet truffles. Yes.
Should I unmute this?
I don't agree with this.
I mean, there's whatchamacallits on the screen. I don't care one way or the other. It describes how the mechanism works, because it's a button lock in the pivot, but a liner lock on the knife. And when you press the button in, the liner goes to the same side. Because it's a right.
Yes.
It's a right side liner lock that when you depress the button, it sucks back into the handle.
Yeah, I've seen this.
It's always kicking. I don't know what that means.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember this. It's very
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, that's truffles. And the other link is just to their website where they talk about their knife. It's a company called Aurora Knife and Tools. I think they're kickstartering this one. I think is what they're doing for truffles here. I don't know why it's named truffles.
I don't know, but
it's adorable. I love it.
If they don't name their second one Truffle Pig, they're doing it wrong. It's.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna go with like Morel, but you do you.
No. It needs to be a fixed blade though. With this lock.
That's funny. They tell you it's in Yanjiang. I'm sure I'm butchering that. But they don't tell you what OEM they're working with. Because I'm pretty sure like that is like the knife making central in China for basically like any mass produced knife that comes out of there. And I mean basically any of them. They all come.
And what do they call it?
A
roundhouse lock?
What do they call it? I don't know.
It's down on the specs.
Yep.
Lock.
Roundhouse lock.
Yeah.
That's nifty.
Sweet. Roadhouse.
That is a gimmick. That is a.
That was a slow burn there, Dennis.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, I got it. I caught it. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't hate it. I like the fidget factor of having a flipper, a front flipper, and an opening hole all in the same knife. What's his name? What's that actor's name? I don't know why he's there, but that's interesting too.
In the about section, you're supposed to read part of it in the voice of Sam Elliott. Yeah.
Okay, that's why.
Okay, for the record, Sam Elliott passed away, so it's reading
they couldn't get him to read it in his voice. So
I guess you just have to request it because
imagine it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he passed. Let me double check that just to make sure I'm not a jackass on that one. But
Dick Richardson saying he would buy it if Sam Elliott would, which I mean, I don't know if what Dennis is saying is true.
Oh no,
he's still around. He's 78. He's 78.
But someone else completely. It's not Sam Elliott. He's still alive. My apologies.
Good for you, Sam Elliott.
Well, what's your problem then? Get him. Jesus Christ! Why do I have to think about it? Why can't you just get the guy and let the thinking do the talking?
Chevy pays a lot, okay?
Sammy, you're on a Sammy basis now, are you?
Huh? I said Chevy.
Oh, Chevy. Yeah, they pay okay.
A lot.
They pay okay. Yeah.
Because he's been the voice of Chevy at one point or another, has he not?
It may or may not still be. I don't know.
Yeah.
No one watches commercials anymore.
Yeah, I haven't seen one in years.
It's been a minute.
Fancy stuff. It's kind of like a pawl lock, but kind of like a liner pawl.
Yeah,
honestly. Yeah. So I can only speculate as to what the internals of this thing look like. I really want to see a teardown. But it brings to mind the G&G design that they did with Kershaw, where you could press a button that would press against a liner, which presses against another liner to allow the blade to close. Then you'd have to
For which one, sorry? Kershaw?
Yeah, the Thistle?
The Thistle.
Yeah, that thing was weird. This actually seems more usable because once the liner moves out of the way, it's just out of the way.
Yeah. And they talk about it always kicking, so I wonder if it's like always pushing in a different direction and the button holds it in place, which kind of freaks me out if I'm being honest.
The button holds it in place and it's always kicking. I'm not sure what they could mean by that, unless they mean in the sense that like every frame lock and every liner lock is always wanting to be in the locked position. That's why it locks. That's the all I could.
They say it's always kicking. I made the comment about maybe it's the button that is holding it locked.
I was wondering if they had the phrase in here.
Because when you push the button, the liner gets out of the way. And so it seems like it's kicking in the opposite direction. How do you pull a button? How do you pull a liner with a push of a button?
So if I had to guess, there's probably a coil spring pushing the button outwards away from the handle. And if you press that button down, it moves something. Yeah. It's gotta move. It's got to move something to push the liner upwards. So there might be a part to the liner that we can't see from these angles. It's hard to say. Yeah, it's kind of got some of that, some Brian Winters magic shenanigans going on for sure.
Yeah, magnets. How do they work?
I always appreciate, and not to disparage magnetic locking systems at all, but I love like little mechanical bullshit like this, like just fidgety weird shit.
In theory, you could have it be a magnet that as you press the button in, it gets close enough to pull the liner out.
Here's an engineering thought, and I don't know if it's right or not, but it's just an engineering thought that if the button was a part of the entire liner and now it had a post on the back, when you press the button, it would press the back, and if the bar was bent, it would press the back and bend it to be closed if it had two posts. I don't know. Watch a disassembly video in 3 months. Figure it out. Tell me if I'm right or not. But
yeah, I'm not sure.
I was thinking about that, right? Because if you push this button, then you could push this button at the same time. And if all of it pushed at the same time, that angled bar would...
Maybe if the bar was short enough and you had a leverage point closer to the middle of the handle, you might be able to do something like that.
Like I said, I don't freaking know. I'm just trying to make my brain work. Yeah. You tell me, brain.
What's in here, Pinky?
It's at the...
I do what we do every night. Try to take over the world.
Yeah.
It's fucking nifty is what it is, honestly.
One brain at a time.
I think of it like it must be pushing some sort of wedge, and that wedge is pushing itself underneath the liner in order to get it to squish out of the way. I don't know. I'm very curious. I like it. I'm very curious. Yeah, thanks for bringing this thing up, because I had completely forgotten about this.
It's just on a teeter-totter, and the liner's attached to the teeter-totter, so when it's pushed.
That's what I would...
And it's just a single pin.
Yeah.
Either way, very cool.
But now I'm going to send both of those designs to G&G Hawk and get a cut.
Hey, you guys do any bullshit similar to this? I'm sure they're going to say yes. It's
like, yeah, we already own it. F off.
Where do you think they got the design drawings from? Yeah. Just
funny.
Blame it all on them.
I don't know if either one of you have heard of Aurora Knife and Tool. It seems like they sell other things, but I think this is the only knife.
New companies popping it up all the time. It's fun. It's fun times.
I'll be honest. I don't know how they sell some of the things, because it seems like they would be trademarked.
Like what?
The Gear Boy, Game Boy. There's like a King of the Hill patch where Bobby says a quote from King of the Hill.
Well, sometimes they're fast and loose,
Yeah.
A company has to give a shit for it to be illegal. I think that's actually basically how patent law works, or trademark law basically works. That's why Disney is so hyper aggressive. That's why Nintendo generally is super hyper aggressive for that stuff.
Well, the Game Boy is like why I was asking that question. I do like the do or do not coins. Those are fun.
That's actually kind of That's kind of
there is no try. If they don't have try spelled out along the edge, I'll be really upset.
Fucking funny. So I guess we could end it on a bit of a discussion topic to kind of round us out for the evening here. Even if it's just quick. So there are lots of companies like Aurora Knife and Tool that just sort of pop up in the middle of nowhere, and it kind of got me thinking. There's a discussion at the Random Blade forums about this, and it splintered off into other mini discussions as well. What do you guys think about the proliferation of designers these days? Like, you have people who have essentially no engineering background, much less knife engineering background, drawing up designs, getting them manufactured at a professional level by OEMs like Bestech, like Riot.
Like even Spyderco. What was that one that got made from the young guy with the forum, right?
Yeah.
Was that the Amalgam, or was
it
that
was the Amalgam? But that was also the Junior. That was also the. So it's not. There's been Spyderco has been really open in that way in the past, though.
Yeah.
But
I think, yeah, backgrounds are awesome and whatever type of thing, right? But I think that you go through so much weeding of the chaff that when you get a good design, you just recognize a good design. Because I bet you they get a whole bunch of stuff that we do not hear about. And that guy who sends the email on how to improve their PM2, and I'm like, I don't understand why they didn't listen to me. I sent him an email on the schematics and everything on how to make it better. I don't get it. It's anyway, because they have those guys so often that when something comes across the draft table or the meeting board or the whatever that doesn't suck, I bet you it stands out like a gem because they're weeding through freaking
for Spyderco's, for companies like Spyderco and CRKT, yes, absolutely. But for companies like Bestech, if you put down a 15 grand down payment,
you pay the money.
If you put down the money, they will produce for you.
Yeah. And it's your own fault if they don't sell.
Yeah, but under their label or under your own?
To my knowledge. Oh, and this is kind of what I was getting into, like designer stuff, like this is a perfect example, actually. Vero Engineering. So the guy actually has an engineering background. I don't know, forget if it was aerospace or what he was doing previously. But anyway, Vero definitely has a design background. But he risked money producing these knives and other knives that he would sell from his own inventory. Bestech does not have any labeling on this. None of the packaging it comes with mentions Bestech, I don't think. I'd have to, So in those types of situations, it's definitely a risk for the person who is coming up with the project idea, getting a prototype, getting it mass produced.
So we're talking about Bestech being an OEM, and this is going to sound weird, and I don't know if you guys agree, but this one looks like it was OEM'd by QSP.
Actually, if you look at the wire clip, the position of the wire clip, that milling, that particular pattern of countersunk milling, it is very reminiscent of the Penguin Plus.
And I have no idea if QSP does any OEMs or if they would be interested in doing a design like design.
They do. QSP does do. Oh. I can't remember who it is, but I remember somewhere something recently was made in the QSP factory. Cool. Yes.
But yeah. So it just kind of has similar lines to things you see in QSP's lineup already.
I think this has some design language of several things. Like it's got some HEA kind of vibes to it a little bit. It's got some,
the opening hole for sure.
For this closed picture looks like what was Smoke Boost Blade. Mm-hmm.
For me, my takeaway from the kind of the current situation is that we end up with a knife market that can see exposure from weird places. What I mean by that is you can have a designer who takes amalgamations of different design language that he likes, or she likes, whoever, and they can have a line of knives made, and they can sell them, and whether they sell or not, doesn't really matter. The fact is they hit the market. You can also get guys who want to try some stupid, batshit insane idea that only the likes of Cold Steel would have originally come up with, and then they get to produce a very strange knife that realistically wouldn't exist otherwise.
The Fenrir now? Is that what we're talking about?
Which one, sorry?
The Fenrir?
Oh, the Midgard? Midgard knives? Yeah, those guys are, but they have their own niche. But yeah, something similar.
Fenrir, specifically the pocket sword that they've made.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking specifically at that scale. I just mean design language that you wouldn't normally see make it to mass market, at least in the West. I think this is ultimately a good thing as far as design goes.
You did see it come to mass market. It was just on a production level instead of micro level. Look at CRKT, look at United Cutlery, look at
yes, to a degree, but those
Spider difference came out with some weird shit.
But the vast majority of companies that but see, that's an Eric Glesser design. Literally the son of the owner of Spyderco. What I'm saying is we're seeing this departure from knife designer. Now it's whoever is able to pay enough money. And I don't think that's largely a bad thing, but it seems to be ruffling quite a few feathers, even amongst collectors, knife enthusiasts in general. And that's the part that I have a bit of a disconnect with.
Okay, so even that, though, I don't think that's as rare as you think it is. I think that's been going on the whole time. I just think it's the accessibility of what we have. But I think there's always been these flare up, flash in the pan, make a run of things, die off again, blah, blah, blah. And I think there's been dozens, if not hundreds, of those little companies. We are just not as familiar with them back in the 80s and the 90s and the whatever. But there's tons of them where you like see this knife and you're like, who the hell is this company? And then you find out they've been around for a year and a half and they died off again and they whatever type of.
What was that? That Kelly Warden design that pops up every now and again, I think is kind of maybe not a bad example of that, of being like super niche. It's got a bit of a following.
I was actually going to say my Kyber dagger.
Yeah.
Was made, designed by K-Bar or whatever, and then made overseas by a company to then be imported and sold under the K-Bar name. You know what I mean?
And I mean that being related to Bestech, where it's just like, hey, you got enough money, we'll make this for you, whatever type of thing. Yeah, you're not K-Bar, sure, you're not K-Bar, we'll call you whatever you want to be called. Like, it's fine, right? But yeah,
the scary thing about that though is that if the OEM is making it for you to your specs, and those specs don't spec out, that's on you. You know what I mean? Like, if you make a bad design that, know what I mean?
This is something I've actually noticed with, I think the guy goes by Mr. Designs or something like that on Instagram. But I've noticed this with a couple of different people's ongoing OEM work. What I'm under the impression that if you pay that lump sum up front, of like, hey, I'm guaranteeing that I'm going to buy a run of at least 300, and I'm dropping $15,000 to $20,000 on this run. What they do then is they prototype for you. So they prototype a model, they ship it to you, you suggest changes, you ship it back, they make the changes, they ship it back to you, and you just...
So there is a back and forth.
Yeah, and there's a limited amount of time and resources to do it, but that allows a more inexperienced designer or somebody who's not familiar with the tools that they're using to have something that they want to sign off on. Yeah,
familiar with that concept because of the Steelcraft series and talking with Javo about that type of thing and the back and forth to get all of that stuff made properly and the prototype phase and how many versions went through before it actually got ready to go to market type of thing.
Right.
So
my implication, I think, originally was with the idea that, like, in the case of Bestech and Javo, those guys would be going through that back and forth. But with a guy that's a flash in the pan that just pays the money, you might not know at the end if that guy's knife works. Because there is going to be a finite amount
you mean as far as a consumer goes, looking at the knife?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is
as long as the knife appears to function well, it's going to probably be, here you go.
Yeah.
Because that guy might not know to do a spine whack test or things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's why those flash in the pan companies, even in the 80s and the 90s, aren't around now, is eventually they get outed, right? Whether it's 6 months or a year or 2 years or 5 years or whatever, eventually those companies get outed as being like, nope, you're garbage. That's why you died. And that's why there is a million companies, MODs, and like the Green Spatter Company. What the hell was that one? I can't remember. Joe knows what I'm talking about. Green zombie spatter all over their advertising.
Microtech, no. Dark Ops. It was Dark Ops.
Dark Ops. Yeah. How many of these flash in the pan companies didn't last 5 years, 10 years? Like it's so yeah.
Quartermaster was what I was afraid of. Is
quite honestly. Right.
Same kind of idea where it's like I've heard good, not many good things,
but a lot of questionable things for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the question of legitimacy is always going to be there. I mean, even companies like Benchmade have issues with springs, for God's sake. So what I think often happens is the designer kind of relies on the manufacturer for their knowledge in terms of the technical aspects. So things like liner lock bar engagement. It's fairly well known within like custom knife making circles that you're aiming for like between 7.5 degrees and 10 degrees that's your angle of engagement between a lock bar and a blade
sweet spot.
That's theoretically, according to Trezola, who did a lot of testing and spine whacking, I'm sure, to figure that out. And all the reporting I've seen online for guys who will follow those instructions, like, stupid good lockup. Doesn't really slip. It doesn't have any issues long term. But that type of information, if you're coming into this from a collector's standpoint, not necessarily from somebody who's actually made a prototype by hand before, you may not know to look for these things. So you're relying on the production company to, when I tell them, hey, I want you to make a flipper titanium frame lock, that they know the geometry to use. You're relying very much on that individual manufacturer.
Absolutely. And when you know who the manufacturer is, that definitely makes for a little bit more comfort. Because I trust the things coming out of Bestech factories, for example. But when you just get a region where the things are made, it always makes me second guess. And I don't mean this knife specifically when I'm saying that, but
it might have been made in a field in Wisconsin. I'm just saying. It's just
sunflowers?
Maybe. It might have sunflowers. It might.
It might.
Does that mean if I go search it in the sunflowers, I might come back with a truffle?
Just start reaching your hand in. We'll find out what happens.
See what you pull out.
Yeah.
Nothing.
You had the chance to pull out a different knife and be like, it's just as good.
I'll take this.
Yeah.
And I guess on a final note,
I was going to give you guys the finger that too, but
that would have been pretty good. Yeah. One last final note for me on this. I guess that does kind of answer a question I've been bouncing around with for a bit. It's like, why are people so reluctant to say who OEM their work? I don't think it's because companies like Riot or QSP or whoever, Bestech, I don't think they're saying don't say who made it. I don't think that's the case. I think it's the designers like, oh no, this is a closely kept secret that I did these things with this OEM. In reality, does it really matter all that much? I mean, there's a lot of instances where,
right? Like it's a half dozen companies.
Yeah. I mean, you could guess, and you have like a 30% chance of being correct a lot of the time. And at
the end of it all, there's a good chance that you actually exposing who your OEM is probably going to be good for business.
It'll probably lend you credibility with enthusiasts who, generally speaking, are your target demographic, because the average Joe Blow isn't going to buy a knife made by someone they've never heard of for $400 American. It's just not going to happen.
You tell me it's made by Bestech. Yeah.
This is the advice column section of the podcast, where we give advice. And I think that's good advice, quite honestly.
The only reason that you're hiding your shit is because you don't want people to know. Or you're trying to claim American made and you're not. Type of garbage.
Made by two sons.
Whatever. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's happened within somewhat recent history, and we saw the fallout from that. So I think it would be in people's best interests to just be as open as possible with this kind of thing.
I do appreciate the fact that they absolutely say that they're made overseas in the truffles, write-up. They name the region, but I think they could do. They would be bettering themselves by just saying who it is.
A serious lack of truffles in our region. They have to outsource the truffles.
This is true.
To get enough truffles.
How else am I going to get truffle fries?
Yeah.
I ask you, how else?
You won't get them. On that note, boys, I think that rounds us about out.
I think so.
Yeah. I think so. We'll go back to that picture of that Bestech beauty that is just a Bestech.
The Supernova.
So thank you to the Cutting Edge Cutlery Co. for having the gold anodized version, the C version as it were, with the vertical satin, not just normal satin, it's vertical. So sun goes up, sun goes down type of shit. That's right.
Sun's getting real
Thanks
low.
for letting us check it out and review it. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, indeed. Go and buy it. So I don't have the temptation to. Thank you. On that note, thank you to the two folks that followed us on Instagram this week. I don't know what you're doing or
don't know what you
how your
expect at
life's
this point.
going, but yeah,
I mean,
I appreciate it.
You can thank the other people on Instagram too. It doesn't have to just be two people. I mean, you can thank all of our followers. Is kind of a
it's a special thanks.
See, I'm thanking the new followers
a
that
nice
aren't Damascus knife makers.
I see.
I appreciate these people. I mean, obviously, thank you to everybody else who also follows us for.
Those guys. Oh, those guys too.
Yeah, we can say them.
So
they're confused, and I like it.
Also, thank you to everyone on Patreon. Continue to subscribe to us. Everything that you give to us monthly is actually just going back to you guys as a Christmas thank you. 2023, it's a real thing. Like, it's so real. We're in 7th month now, and we only have less than half a year to figure this shit out. So it's go time. It's go time in the behind the scenes for Pokey Factor. But anyway, yeah.
What starts as a joke and becomes a real thing really makes me sad. I'm going to be honest.
But I'm sure you guys will be happy. Yeah, we're happy that you continue to join us week after week and subscribe month after month. So thank you guys.
Yeah. Cheers to that.
Like, subscribe, YouTube, share, all those things. Someone, dark side.
Just put it on a loop in the background and just have it playing with no volume. It's fine. Just do us a favor.
Yeah.
Listen to it the first time. And
maybe there'll be some shorts one day. I mean, you can't tell because it's from the waist down, but maybe there will be some shorts one day.
There's a short right now.
I don't have any shorts to lift up. I got a sweater.
Not a long, that's for sure. All right. On that note, good times.
Get us out of here.
Let's get out of here. Get me out of here. Yep. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We won't see you again next week. Paul's got a thing. I don't know. Paul has a thing.
Yeah.
So,
important birthdays and all that.
Cool.
I got a friend who's got a birthday. I need to eat steak.
I can sit around a campfire instead. It's okay. It's okay with me. So
there we go.
Good times. All right, guys, we will see you again in a couple weeks. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Having said that, we will see you in a couple weeks. I am who I am. I'm Dennis Vipers.
I am the Iron Joe.
And I'm XL.ca.
Thanks again, guys. And we will see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Why are we so privileged even the dwarf has to be white?